All right. So we're live finally after some technical difficulties. So Siria, thank you so much for being patient with us. This is our first time using this platform and for taking the time to come and speak with us today. So we are super excited. I was telling Danny, I sent him your Instagram page and your website so he can be in the loop. And he's like, this is all paper? I said, listen, you just don't understand. Like, she can make anything. She can make anything. So I want to jump right in and I want you to introduce yourself. I think everybody knows you in the kit party world. I really do. So tell us about who you are in your business.
My name is Siria. I'm actually the face of D&S Creations. I don't show myself that much. So I think this is the first time I do something like this. So if I freeze on camera, I apologize. But yes, D&S Creations is my baby. It's our family business for, I would say, for the past 5 years since it's grown to what it's been today. So I'm just so happy to be able to talk to you guys about it. Thank you, Anita, for reaching out. It's a pleasure to be in a platform like this. And Danny, nice meeting you.
Go ahead.
Welcome to another episode of Relatable Luxury. We actually got the thing going. We have a beautiful guest with us today. Her name is Siria and Mandujano.
Yes.
Mandujano. All right, I got that right. I am Dan Cruz and
I'm Oneida Cruz. And
well,
so
thank you for coming, Siria.
Yes. It's like a, how do you say, delayed reaction because we have to get the audio right. So today we have Siria here and she just explained to us her story, her background. So I'm going to jump right in and fire right with the first question. So I have seen you create elaborate productions with your paperie. And that's a new term for me, by the way, too, because I'm used to stationery. And when I saw in your bio paperie, I'm like, that's definitely what it is. It's like a fancy version of stationery. And I've always wanted to know, like, just the design process for even what kind of papers and things do you use to create such beautiful pieces?
Well, when I first started, it's crazy because, everything's trial and error. And I remember the first cardstock I started using, people would grab it and it would just fall apart. So, through the years, I've been, as I said, trial and error and many trips to Hobby Lobby. But I think I got it this time. Usually I use a glossy, it's like a 12-point cardstock. Okay. That's how we call it. So usually, my design process includes that. It also includes different elements. As you can see, sometimes I use dry flowers or different elements to make that nice touch to it.
Exactly.
And as we see, that nice papery effect to it.
Do you consider yourself a graphic designer?
It's funny that you asked that. Because I knew nothing about graphic designing before I even started. So I think today now people would ask me, and I would consider myself, I'm I would describe it a graphic designer, stationery, papery business. Yes. But I knew nothing about graphic designing at all.
Oh my gosh! So that's a huge learning curve.
Yes.
So talk about when I went on your Instagram and I went on your bio, you talked about your D&S, how you came up with the D&S. So talk about a little bit about how you created the logo and your brand, which inspired you.
I'm from Honduras. So in the Spanish language, God is Dios, which starts with the letter D. So my name, you see it is God, Dios, and Siria as creations. Because I truly believe there's no way I could do all these creations by myself, Yeah. As I said, I knew nothing about designing. I knew nothing about paper and all that. So I think for me, that was the beginning of my brand. And at first, like you think you're starting a business and you want to, create this brand and you want to put time into it. But I think everything happened so fast that I wasn't able to sit down and say, this is what I want my brand to look like. So I think everything good organically. And I think the first time that I thought, oh, D&S Creation, it's becoming a brand. I remember going to this event and I started like helping the event planner setting up. And these other vendors came out and say, are you D&S Creations? I said, yes. Everybody knows me by D&S Creations, not by Siria. Yeah. So, I was like, yes, I am. Like, so they said, oh my goodness, I saw your page and everything. So I think at that moment, and then after that, this would be a constant flow. So after that, I said, okay, we have, we've created a brand at this point. But it was, I wish I could say we sat down and we said, okay, this is how we're going to do it. But it just grew organically, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that is, you see the progression in your Instagram. I love that you have not removed any old pictures, because I looked at, I think, I want to say 2018, one of your gable boxes. And I'm like, she is not making gable boxes anymore like this. So I love to see the progression in such a short time, because for me looking in, it shows how much you love learning and how much you love or have a passion for what you do, because you see the progression. And from that point, when I saw it in like 2018 to now, it's like, oh my goodness, like this is amazing. It's super amazing. Like my favorite design that you've done was the, oh gosh, I forget her name, but it was like a watchtower, like a, what do you call those things on the ocean that you see? She's in New York, your client. Lighthouse. And I'm like, how did she do this? It was super, super nice and detailed. And I'm like, this woman knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing. So where do you draw your inspiration? Go ahead, Beth.
No, I was just about to ask that. Go ahead. Based on the
where
D&S.
do you draw your inspiration from for design?
I would say anywhere. Like I could be in a furniture store and I would tell my husband, look at those details. Imagine, and then I start, But I think one of my biggest, like my inspirations are my kids. Because if you see most of my events, they're my target market. Little kids, children. So I always watch of what they love, what they're into, and all that. And my daughter, she's 5. And I think she will be part of it.
Yeah.
Because she's so like detailed and everything. So, just seeing her, how excited she gets in parties and everything. I think that just inspires me too, to give it all with each one of my moms or event planners and clients.
Yeah.
So walk us through, you've been in the business for quite some time, but walk us through the time where you actually felt, wow, I'm confident. I got my first win. Now I know I can do this.
So that was, I would say, my husband was working full time. He had like 13 years in, professional career. And, with much prayer and faith, we said, you know what, I think it's time for you to step out and join me as a team to do D&S Creations, what we had in mind, So in that moment, we had no idea what was going to happen. And even in that moment, we said, okay, he might go back to work. But leading months after that, the point that I said it was one of my first wins was he was able to stay home, work with, as a team in the company. And we were able to live same life that we had, same lifestyle. Yes. And we were able to, because at that point, our business started to grow. So I think for me, just being able to do that, it was just the first thing that said, okay, we have something going on here. And I think it's something good. And that's,
yes,
I would say that was my first one.
Yes. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So I'm assuming your husband felt the same way.
Yes. He was happy about it.
Got it.
He's been such a great addition to it.
Yes. Do you feel like it's been a smooth transition to work with your husband side by side with you in the business, or has it been sort of like slow and rocky?
No, totally. I think it's been smooth. I think he's helped me because, I wasn't that big when I started. So I was like, he helped me like with scheduling. He actually was the one that helped me being able to get more clients in that moment. Because in that moment, I thought, okay, this is how much I could take,
Right.
But bringing him alongside me, it's been just such a blessing how he being in the industry for so long, he knew that side of operation, because I knew the side of, the creative side, but not the side of much of administrating your time and how much time in each order and all that. So I think that's a really important aspect of business when you're starting.
Of course. Now, which industry are you referring to?
The event industry.
When you say he was, an event.
He was in the hospitality industry.
Oh, understood.
So and that's the perfect segue, because he knows customer service.
Yes.
And so the customer service piece helped you a lot in this industry.
Yes. Yep. And it's funny because, the company that he worked in, it's everything like first class. So every time I show one of my designs or my treat box, I could see on his face, and he's like, it's not first class. And I'm like, here we go. So I have to say something. But it's just nice to see that aspect of it.
So
he's quality control.
Yeah. Being that he's been in hospitality, how does that frame your thinking around, customer service is extremely important, so I have to appease the customer or the consumers. Did that switch your thinking around or your thought process?
It did. I try to do it more personal now, and there's something that he always, I would hear him like meetings or even when talking to guests and everything. And it was to know your client's needs before they even mention it to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's important. That's why one of the process of my design process is that first call with the client. It gives me a better idea of who my client is, who their needs, what are their needs and everything before I even start the design process.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I love that. And I feel like that gives you repeat business because the client knows that you're finding out exactly what it is they need. So they know you get it, you get them. And I think people spend more money when you take that time.
Yes, I think they just trust you more, when they know somebody cares about, they're just not giving their trust and resource to any company or any person, but they feel that sense of, okay, that person cares about me, about my children, about my event, about the guests that are coming in to that event.
Yes.
Now, I know you live in Miami, Florida.
I do.
It's beautiful out there. And as we spoke before, the temperature is 80, 90 degrees. I'm so jealous. And I don't get too jealous. But talk about the aspect on the flip side. What has been the most challenging part of your business?
I would say time. I think we get into a business and into a first business, and you think, I'm going to have so much time because I control my time. And it's true. You control your schedule. But I think you end up working more than what you think you would. Mm-hmm. So I think family time for me, it's been, I've had to find that balance. And I'm not just saying mommy working in the computer, mommy designing, mommy cutting or gluing. It's more of like mentally.
Yeah.
How do I separate that? Because my creative mind is always thinking about the next design, even if it's due 2, 3, 5, even 8 months in advance,
Right.
But my mind is still thinking. So it's more of like, how can I be present in that moment with my family, with my kids? I think that's been the most challenging to me, how to find that balance between that.
Of course. Yeah, I think that's a huge part of any parent who is an entrepreneur. It's that off switch as soon as you're in the house. And when you have a home-based business, I feel like it's just that more challenging because your physical studio space is, where your family is. So it's sometimes, you have to have a physical space, a room, just to make sure that you can delineate the different spaces and the different mindsets and hats that you have to wear. So I want to talk about money. I'm always talking about money. What was your upfront cost to start your business, to start D&S? Like, what did you purchase as like the first thing that you knew you had to have?
My silhouette. That's the cutting machine I use. So I actually purchased a Cricut first. I want to say maybe it was like $200. That was like 5 years ago. But I didn't end up even using it. And then I bought my first silhouette and then my second silhouette. But that was my first item that I knew. I won't be cutting everything by hand. Right. I need a machine that will do this. So that was the first piece I bought.
Okay. So that's good to know. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So having that first piece of equipment had to feel a sense of pride and I can do this. And after that point, did you feel like, hey, this company is moving and now we're going to have to purchase all this other stuff?
Not really. Not in that moment.
Yeah.
Not in that moment. I remember it was slow because I started this actually as a hobby. So I did my daughter's first birthday. She's 5 now. So I even bought it for her birthday to do her event. But I wasn't even thinking of doing this a business. And I actually remember, I don't even know why I posted. I started posting her stuff on a separate page because I thought maybe, someday. But I never, and then out of nowhere, the same day, 2 event planners reached out. I was like,
wow.
I wouldn't even check my email. It was a hobby for me. And then that same day, 2 event planners reached out. I had no idea what I was doing. I would do it just by for my family events. But no, I remember answering and I said, okay, if they reply back, they reply back. I remember it was Tika from Tika Events and then Mira from Shine.
Wow. So those are 2 big people in your arena.
And I go on their Instagram and I'm like, these event planners just reached out. I have no idea what's happening. I don't even know how to design. At that point, I didn't even know how to use Illustrator or anything.
Wow.
I had someone actually, I would tell him, okay, this is what I have. This is what I need. And then they reached out and I'm like, how am I going to do this? Yeah. So it was just out of faith. I said, yes, we're available. We can make it happen. So just remembering that is just so funny because then I remember Tika came back and she wanted some changes. And I'm like, how do I make those changes? I don't know. Right. So I'm calling this designer guy that would help me. And I said, hey, I need to do this. But he had his full-time job. Right. So I would have to wait for him and everything. So it was just that moment that I said, you know what? I need to learn.
Yeah.
And that's how it all happened.
Oh, wow.
So
to your point, that was super organic. I love that. I love that.
Yes.
And it reminds me of what Oneida did because we all had something prior to, we did things, we had another job or other careers and so forth. What were you doing before you got to that point?
I was an account manager. In a business here in Florida. I loved my job. I had nothing wrong. It was just that moment when I was a mom that I just wanted to be a mom.
Yeah.
And that's when I transitioned out, not even thinking I was going to build a business or anything.
Right. Right.
That's what I was before that.
Right.
And so during that process of you being a mother, you thought about, hey, I got to get to a point where I could work for myself. Was that the thinking behind it, the thought process?
No, it was more of like, I started doing my daughter's birthday and I said, hey, I love this. It was not even in that year. It was actually for her first birthday. And I said, I love this. I'll just post it and see. And that's when it all happened. I wasn't even thinking, I knew in my heart actually, because I would plan all of my family's events. I had a heart for an event planner.
Right.
But when I quit my job, the reason was I wanted to be more with my kids. I knew I was going to have more kids. I had just one at that moment, but I want to stay home. And, like event planner life, it's a tough one. You have to be weekends, you have to be in setups and everything. So I was shifting away from my first reason why I left my job.
It's funny you say that because, Oneida had the same situation where she was an event planner and she came to me one day with an idea and I said, another idea. I thought you had an idea already. So, you explaining yourself about the event planning, she felt the same way. So I talk about the commonalities that we all have in common, which for you was, I wanted to stay home and spend more time at home.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Oneida, it was the same way. And so for the viewers, speak about how important is spending more time at home opposed to working a 9-to-5 or a 12-hour shift, and in those aspects.
I think for me, I love my business, as I said, D&S Creation, it's like my baby. I breathe, eat D&S Creation. But I think for me, the legacy I want to leave, it's not towards my business, but towards my kids,
Right.
So I think that would be my main, that would be my answer, my main thing, I'd rather spend the time on that than on becoming bigger. If I do, that's okay,
Right.
But that's my priority.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
I get that. That's like a two snaps. Danny and I had a conversation, I think in the last podcast where we spoke about that. Because when I started Petite Seats, I was looking for a partner, and because in my head, like it was just going to be something huge and big, because all of the rental companies that I've seen, they have huge warehouses, fleets of trucks and things like that. But then as I started to work the business, I'm like, no, I want to keep it like a boutique and small so that I can have that one-on-one engagement with my clients, and then also have time to be at home with the babies. So I completely understand that. So you mentioned, home and family, but besides your husband, is there anybody else on your team that helps to D&S to make those deadlines and to get these orders out?
Yes, we actually have now 3 part-time employees, which they help me elaborate.
Yes.
When it comes to designing, it's only myself. I take care of all the design and everything, but I have these other 3. They're gorgeous women. I wouldn't be able to do it without them. They come in and help me when it comes to, assembling, cutting and everything, that part of, in order for us to achieve what we want to achieve, but in the design portion of it, it's only myself. So that's why it's a little bit, this past year, it's been hard to say no, even though I have the help to assemble and all that, but it's only one person designing, it's, you only get me, you know what I mean? But I love that aspect of it because I think it gives value to, that personal touch that I was talking about earlier.
Right.
And I tried to bring more designers in, into it and everything. It's just hard when
and that's been difficult.
Yes. It's hard when you have a vision and you have, your own aesthetic, I would say.
Oh, I was saying the first time that I got to experience your products was with Jackie Cara. And it was like the Minnie Mouse theme. And what I was blown away with is the fact that you assemble everything. Because I'm so used to getting paperie and things like that and having to do my own folding. And so the fact that everything came assembled, I'm looking at Jackie and I'm like, did you do this? Or is this how it came? She's like, no, this is how it comes. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is like a game changer because I was not used to seeing that. So I thought that was an added touch.
Yes, and that's one of the questions I get a lot. Does it come assembled or not? And I say yes. Mm-hmm. Everything gets shipped because I have a lot of my New York moms, New Jersey moms. So I get to ship to them and everything. So their first question is always like, do they come assembled? Yes, everything comes assembled. You just got to take it out of the box and put it on the kids' table.
Any relationships that you have made, because the first couple of relationships you made in the event planning was Tika and I forgot the other name.
Miriam from
Miriam. Yeah. So we know that the circle is small, but have you increased that circle?
I have. Actually, most of my event planners, like even if we don't have events together, we call each other. I think I'm on the phone with Miriam every single day, if not. Even if we don't have events, just talk about life. How's it going? Even moms, I have a lot of moms that become like family. Mm-hmm. Just seeing how happy they get, from once they first hired me to what D&S has become, it's just mind blowing to see, how happy they get. Always like even texting out of nowhere, like, have you been? I even have moms that, it's one kid's birthday and they say, I want to book all 4 of my kids for the year. And they do so, So we're talking like, constantly. So I think that was just a beautiful side of the business that it took me by surprise. Because when you're like when you're in the business, in your mindset, it's business.
Right.
But the fact that I've created that, environment with my moms, my event planners, it's just mind blowing. They become family.
You have a D&S community. Yes, you have a community.
I call them my D&S kids. Some of them I meet, some of them I don't. But I feel I know them.
Yeah.
Now, how does that translate being in the Miami area? Meaning, here you're in Miami. Are all those people who are planning in the Miami area? Are they outside of Miami area? I know you mentioned New York, New Jersey.
Yes, I have planners all across the state. I did start it with Florida only because I was in shipping. I was in that was my first market. So, but now we have event planners from different part of the country. I even have event planners internationally that I worked with. But I would say at first it was only Florida, Miami, but now it's more abroad.
So you're global.
D&S is global. My question was, what have you done for marketing as for D&S? Have you done like Facebook ads and those kind of things?
When I started, I think I started doing Instagram ads maybe 5 months ago. For marketing wise, I remember I did t-shirts, I did business cards. Nothing of that worked. For myself, for my business, nothing of that worked. So it's been more Instagram and word of mouth. That's been I would say the only marketing that I've done. I haven't even had to invest on that. In the beginning, you build a business and you say, you need business cards, you need t-shirts. I cannot sit down and say that brought me any type of business.
Exactly.
So it's pretty much word of mouth?
Yes.
Yeah. And referrals. I can definitely see that because I can imagine if someone is coming to an event that you have the paperie there, the first thing they're seeing is like, oh my gosh, who created these beautiful pieces? Mm-hmm. So I can imagine that is just how you get a lot of business. Do you have any advice for, I'm going to keep it broad, as people coming into entrepreneurship and especially working something like they've created something from scratch. It's not something that they've seen before, because I definitely consider you an innovator in your space. Any advice that you would give someone who was starting something new?
Yes, I think the first advice I would say, check your heart motivation of why you want a business, like what's the reason why you want to be an entrepreneur. For me, it was God, family, helping others. So I truly think that's why we've seen the success that we've seen so far. Yes. Another thing that I would say is, if you believe that you have a product, and it doesn't matter, people would think, it's not going nowhere. Like, who would have thought paper would, I would have been doing a business out of paper, even myself back then, I would never thought this was going to become my full-time job, my family's, source of income. There was no way people would have told me and I would have believed it. So I would say, if you believe in your product, if you believe in your brand, just take step of faith. And if it's meant to be for you, it will, It's not easy. In the beginning, you will have your bumps, ups and downs, but if you believe in something, and right now, I think we're in the world of, there's so much creativity there. So it's more of like, what can you add different to that, Mm-hmm. So many amazing things out there, even things that we get inspired by. But what is going to separate you from that? Why would people choose you aside from the other creators that are in your same industry? So I would say that would be, even I have, even my mom's event planners. Oh, did you see the part? I want to use this party as inspiration, and they tell me this party that such and such did. And, like I always say, don't send it to me. I don't want to see it beforehand, because whatever I create, I wanted it to be inside your vision. And, so please don't send it to me. So not unless I do the design first, then I can take a look at it, because I don't want that to trigger on the design I'm creating. You know what I mean?
Got it. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I tend not to, even if they tell me, I said, I would love to, but please don't send it to me. I mean, I do inspiration pictures and everything. I'm fine with that. But when they tell me I want the party, just, I try not to,
of course,
to even look at it before.
So has anyone, I'm sure someone has, but I could be wrong. Has anyone ever said, hey, I love this post from your Instagram. I really like this same idea. Can you do something similar?
Yes, they have. So it's a little bit different. So when it comes to event planners, which since I'm working alongside an event planner's vision, I try not to do two events the same, just out of respect, out of that event planner, When it comes to like when I'm working with a mom and it's more of like D&S Creations visions coming to life, and I have another mom and say, hey, I love this. I want this in treat boxes. I'm okay in doing that,
Got it.
Right.
Got it.
Right. I feel like it's very rare that you have someone in business with that, what I call integrity, because I'm sure there are a lot of people, and I'm just speaking in the world of kids parties, because in general, people repeat themes in the kid world, but you will find planners or even vendors who will have no problem reproducing something that has already been done. And so, it hurts a lot of people's emotions when they see something that they've created from their head to be reproduced by someone else without credit, I should say, because of course there are people who will credit the original source, but sometimes it doesn't happen that way. So I wanted to segue into, and I'm probably going to mess this up, but it's Atelier Shoe. Am I saying it right?
Which one?
But it's the Atelier Shoe Paperie. It's the how do we say it? Because I know I'm messing it up.
Yes, the Atelier Shoe. Yes, you're right.
Okay, so that is actually how I arrived upon your D&S Creations, because I remember working with, I don't even remember who I was working with at the time, but I had been in contact with Daniela, who was the co-owner of the brand, and she was saying to me, I was asking her, I said, do you have like a licensing with somebody who can create, can use your it was the balloon at the time. And she says, no, but I can, the hot air balloon, I can give it to you, and we can, because she was partnering with my client at the time. And I said, it was a lot to get everything together. And then I noticed that you had, I don't know. So I wanted to know, how did that partnership become what it was? Because I feel like that propelled your business a lot as well.
Yes. So that one, my son was turning 2 years old. Yes. He was turning 1. It was for his first birthday, actually. And I love the brand. I knew the brand way in advance, because they do have a lot of like nursery stuff, like that whimsical,
yes.
dreamy. So for his birthday, I wanted to do something whimsical. And I remember the brand and I say, oh my gosh, I love this, but I, it was not my illustration. Sometimes I do work with my own illustrations, but when it's someone else's illustration, I need to reach out to that illustrator and ask, hey, is it okay for me to use this? So I remember reaching out to them. And I remember her saying, it was Danielle also. I remember her saying, yes, that's okay. You just got to pay for this fee and everything. So I did pay my fee. So I remember my son's birthday and I started posting, the things that I have created. And then they reached out and they say, oh my gosh, they love the carousel box. That was one of the showstoppers. So they reached out and they say, hey, we want to partner with you. We want to make you one of our party licensed person. Yeah. And I said, great. I would love to. And it's been great since then.
God is good.
Yes, God is good all the time.
Man, so that's a good segue to me asking this question, because I've been in this industry for the last 6 months working with my wife, because I, like yourself, quit my job, resigned. But I see a lot of folks who like to have pro bonos. And what conditions are needed for you to even accept this type of agreement with someone, to say, hey, I'll do it?
Or do you accept it?
Or do you accept that being, having your busy schedule and a busy influx of business?
So it's funny that you say that, because I had no idea, I followed influencers and everything, but I had no idea that how it worked. So I had this first influencer reached out, but I didn't put both of them together, because I used to follow her on my personal Instagram account years ago, because I loved her family. She had kids. I even bought so many things of what she would post,
Yeah.
So when I first got a DM from her, I was like, wow, it was more of a shock that she had wrote and that she really wanted my products. And in that moment, I'm not even thinking of, exposure or will I charge? Will I not? So in that moment, I was able, because I had the time. It was starting to get busy, but it was more of I really wanted to do it for her, because I loved her family. I loved everything she stood by and everything. So it was more of wow, I really wanted to do it for you. So I think that was the first and only time I've done a pro bono, like something for free, you know.
Right.
I've worked with other influencers, but because of my busy schedule, now I do more of like a percentage.
Got it.
But that was my first time.
Yeah, got it.
That's
and I'm
awesome.
sure that the requests come a lot.
Yeah, I still got, that's something to get used to.
Yeah, they do.
He doesn't get it.
It's always worked out, though.
Right.
It's always worked out.
Yeah, got it.
So we have like 2 more questions. How do you define success?
That's a good one. You know, when I started this business, as any other business, I'm sure we sit down and we write our goals, right? And once you meet those goals, you've met your success. And to me, I remember writing, and it was being home with my kids, having family time, you know, and having my husband at home with me. And today I would say that was success for me. And I think we've succeeded on that. And everything that comes in addition to that, you know, is just overflowing of success of what we thought it was success. And just the fact that I get to create a product to families, you know, to moms, kids, event planners, that put a smile on their faces, for me, that's all I need to be successful.
Yeah.
I think that would be my main.
So being being successful sometimes, and people want to be part of that success. So has anyone ever said, hey, you're not saying it blatantly, but you're successful. I want to be part of it. I want to be a partner. I want to be a percentage. Anybody has ever come forth and say, hey, let me be part of this?
No, I haven't gotten that yet.
So what would you do if somebody asked you that?
You know, first, I think I would sit down with them and say, why do you want to be successful? You know, like, what is your motive behind it? And I think if they have the right motive, you know, because many people, they want success is different for many. It seems different for every individual. So I don't mind sitting down and telling them, you know, how to be successful in that field. I would be transparent, and if one day I would get that request, and I would try to help as much as I can in order for them to achieve that same success that I've been able to, you know, that God has allowed us and as a family to reach. I think one of the biggest misconceptions would be that you're going to work less hours. You know, I think we all come into a business thinking, you know, we're going to have more of like a chill schedule. It's nothing like that, you know. You work like 20 hours a day, even sometimes even 24 hours, you know. And I think it's important for, you know, entrepreneurs to, you know, to give that perspective to people. For them to know and not be overwhelmed when this happens, you know?
Exactly. It's pacing yourself and understanding that it's not glitter and gold. Yeah.
You know, you do have control of your schedule, you know, and all that. But it takes time. It takes time. It does take time. It takes risks.
Yes. What are, this is my last question for you. When you're thinking about like the longevity of your business, do you see yourself, having a storefront or something outside of, I know you mentioned you're comfortable where you are, but do you see yourself in the near future having a bigger operation?
Actually, yes. And I think this is the first time I'm mentioning it. We're actually, we're launching our new party collection.
Woo! Congratulations. That's huge.
Yeah, so that was actually one of the biggest risks that we've taken financially.
Of course.
It's been a big investment, and we're just happy. I think we would be launching, I want to say mid-March with our
That's
first,
so soon.
Yes, with our first spring collection.
I love that.
So we're excited about that. I think my heart behind it was always, I wanted to reach out to more people. I wanted D&S Creations designs to be more, to give people more the opportunity to have that. So I think by us doing that, and it will include most of the items that we do right now. So
yes,
we're excited about that. We do have other collections aligned, but we're just starting with one for now and see how that goes.
I love that.
My dream would be having a storefront in the future.
Oh, well, I wish you so much success with that. That is amazing, amazing, amazing. I have a person who I used to work with. She just got I think all of her products in Target. And when I look at that, I'm like, these, I love to see women who start and they have a vision for their company, and then you follow the progression from, being at home base, having one collection to a Target, you're in Target and you see them on the rack. So I wish you so much success with that. And I don't know where Danny went, but it's okay. I wanted to tell you, he left the scene, and I turned on my phone and he didn't even call back. So maybe his phone died. But listen, through the technical difficulties, we made it work. And I appreciate you so much for your time in the middle of a day when, I know it's so critical for you. Like for me, this is when my weekend starts for orders, is when I start to prep. So I appreciate your time. And it was such a pleasure to meet you. And I look forward to speaking with you soon about our March event.
I cannot wait. We have to talk soon. We're going to start that design process.
I can't wait. I think I cannot wait.
Together.
It will be because I've always, the clients have always booked you. So this is my first time being an event planner in this situation. So yes. So thank you so much. And I wish you all of the success in the world.
No, thank you for thinking of me. It's been such an honor to finally meet you. I know Oneida from Petite Seats, ever since I started following you. So thank you so much.
Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.